What it do, what it do, what it do. It's your boy Gage, and you are now tuned in to Good Conversation and Shenanigans. The show where we get together and we have good conversation and shenanigans. It's in the title. And today I'm joined by Coop. Say what's up, Coop.
What's up?
And Frosty.
Hello.
And Luckii.
Hello.
And I'm the only one who has two names in my little name bar. Everybody else is cooler than me today. So listen, everybody's tired. I think we figured that out.
Yeah.
Before we started the show. One of us has a headache.
A little bit.
You gonna make it?
I'll be fine. I took some stuff. We're good.
Okay.
We're gonna see, I guess.
I suppose so. Everybody has a topic?
Yes.
Excellent. Because on this show, everybody brings a topic to the table. No topic is off the table. We will discuss whatever your topic is. I fear nothing. So, first and foremost, this is what we're going to do. Just to give everybody an opportunity. For those of you who are watching as opposed to listening, this is how you follow Luckii. If you get there and that ad doesn't exist, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just saying. This is how you follow Frosty, Madam Frosty Britches. And Coop, who has, I don't know, how many Instagrams do you have, Coop?
Just two. Well, actually, I got three. It's three. Okay.
Three. Yeah. Two you have access to?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, so without any further ado, who wants to go first? Who's feeling froggy? Who's jumping? Nobody. Everybody's nervous about this. I like it.
I'll go first.
I don't listen. I could go first, but I tend not to like to go first. I feel like as a host, it would be improper for me to go first. So here's what we're gonna do. Coop, you're first.
Great. All right. The other day, my son he was watching It. He told me he watched it, and he was like, "I didn't realize I was scared of clowns." You know.
All right.
And so he asked me, like, what was I scared of when I was kids? And when I was a kid, and I was like, almost everything. So I kind of wanted to bring that here and name at least three things when you were a kid that you were scared of, or what were you scared of as a kid, if anything.
All right, let me get some ground rules here, Coop.
Okay.
Are these things do these have to be things that we're no longer scared of?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Three things. Should we go in a circle? You want us to go round robin? Like,
sure, yeah.
I will tell you. I can tell you now. I was never afraid of clowns. I'm positive. I'm sure I was afraid of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
I'm positive I was afraid of Freddy Krueger. Like, but I don't know. That feels specific. Like clown seems way less specific. But I'm pretty sure I was scared of Freddy because. And let me just say this. I don't think I was scared of Freddy until I realized that his whole thing is being able to get you when you're asleep. Then I think that's what probably would have done it for me. Frosty, what are you afraid of?
I was afraid of the face in the window. When I was really young, my aunt was watching us and she had put this movie on, and it was like, I don't know what it was. To this day I still have no idea what this movie was. But this woman is on like the second story of a mansion, and like I don't know what she's doing, but she's wandering down a hallway and she stops by a window, and suddenly there's just eyes and like a face in the window, and then I don't even remember what happens after it. Like, I don't know if it was that terrifying that I've blacked it out. Like, all I know is I'm afraid of the face in the window.
Let me just, for sake of clarity, this woman is on the second floor.
Yep.
And there's a face in her window.
Yep.
And you had a fear of just like a face being in the window?
To this day, like, I don't like looking out the window in the dark.
Oh, it was dark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was dark. It was completely dark, and then suddenly there's this face in the window. And it's just a human face. It's not alien.
I need to find this movie now.
Right? I remember one other very specific part, and I can't even tell you if it's from the same movie, but it's incredibly inappropriate, also violent. Yeah. My aunt watched really weird stuff.
Have you asked? Have you tried to?
I don't talk to that aunt anymore.
Is it because of the face in the window?
Maybe because of the face in the window. Like,
no, she's not right in the head. Like,
can we make amends just to find out what this movie is? Now I'm like, how do I Google this? Movie with a lady with a face in the window.
Remind me afterwards to tell you about the inappropriate violent part.
Okay.
Do we have to wait until afterwards?
I mean, I can tell you now, but it's pretty, like, it's wild.
Everybody
I'll
else
tell
down?
you. Y'all want to hear it?
Oh, I'm down. Let's go.
So they're getting hot and heavy. I don't know who, but they're getting hot and heavy, and he lays her down on a large, like, dining room table. He sits down to, and then he's murdering her from it.
Wait, he sits?
He sits down, like, at the head of the table, and her legs are, like, on either side, and, like, clothes are flying, and then you hear screaming, like, not good screaming, like...
Yeah, like death screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Wilhelm screaming.
Yeah.
It was, like, reverse Jennifer's body. Like, he was biting her to death.
I don't even think it was that, because his arms were moving. So, like, I think he's, like, literally, like, stabbing her.
Stabbing her?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How old were you?
I don't even know. Like, it might have been, like, max 10.
Huh.
Like I say, my aunt was not right in the brain.
Okay.
I have a question about the face in the window.
Okay.
Like, is it a particular face that stands out? Like, does this face haunt
Just
you?
the eyes. No. I don't remember anything other than a pair of eyes.
If you saw this face again.
Nope.
Okay.
Like, let's not even go there.
Like, I don't think I'd be able to pick it out.
Okay, Frosty, is it just like... Is it specifically like windows on a home? Does it matter if it's like a car window?
No, it's specifically at home. And specifically only on the first level, because, like, especially at my house, like, it's going to be really hard to get to the second level.
Well, I feel like that's the point, though, right? Because...
Yes.
Are there windows on your first level? I mean, other than the door.
Yeah, there's, like, right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
I'll never open those blinds when it's dark outside. Doesn't matter that there's an AC unit blocking both windows. Nope.
That's just not happening.
Nope.
Okay. And to this day, can't shake it.
Nope.
All right. Do you want to shake it?
I don't know how I would.
I think you have to open the window. I think you got to open the blinds.
It just stare out.
Nah, I just not for real. I think you.
Gage is gonna be like, remember that time we talked about your fear of eyes out the window? Maybe you should try like on this window trying that, and then he's gonna be outside of it with Burger King.
Totally possible. I could completely see if like you open the window and the actual Burger King was out there, was like out there holding like a plate, because that dude's like no bullshit. That dude's fucking
creepy.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would be. I can understand that. Luckii, do you have what do you fear? Do you have a fear from childhood?
The only two things that came to mind were completely like different from each other. One's very specific, and one is like, I mean, I guess more universally terrifying for most people. But the very specific one. So for context, I was raised in a home where we used phrases like secular music, right?
Sure.
Couldn't watch a lot of stuff. I couldn't watch Power Rangers because it was too violent. I couldn't watch Pokemon because they're magical, right? So one time I snuck and I watched Goosebumps, and it was a special Tower of Terror episode, and that fucked me up so bad, like for so long. And I couldn't tell you exactly what it was because I recently rewatched that episode specifically on Netflix, and not one thing is scary about it. It's
Yeah, but how old are you?
Creepy. Probably like 7 or 8, something like that. But I was
different
like,
when you're that young.
I was really bitch made apparently, because nothing. They just maybe hinted towards like dungeons and torture chambers. I think they maybe showed an executioner like in the habit. It was a good show, you know. Yeah, and that terrified me for a long time. And then the other is that I used to. So I grew up in Kentland, Orlando.
Yep. The zoo.
And for whatever reason, I had an extreme fear, like literally laying awake at night, concerned that the Klan was gonna come through one day. Like,
where'd that come from?
I don't know where it came from. I don't know, but it's just.
How old were you at this point?
When we moved from there when I was 7, so between the ages of like 3 and 7, pretty consistently, I would just imagine like on horseback, full sheet robes, people
burning crosses and coming to get you.
In Kentland.
Kentland, coming to the zoo.
Firehouse.
Yeah. Like,
and my grandparents would, have to talk to me about why that probably wasn't likely. Yeah. Mind you, this is the 90s in Kentland too. This wasn't like, But those are the only two things I could remember being afraid of as a child.
Were any of you afraid of the dark? I was definitely afraid of the dark at some point. Like,
yeah, I was afraid of everything. I don't know anything.
You did say that. You were afraid of clowns too?
Huh?
You were afraid of clowns?
Yeah.
All right, listen. Here's the thing. I need to do. We're gonna talk about this for a second.
It was a movie in particular, not just like any clown, but it was a movie that made me scared of clowns. Killer Clowns from Space. I think it's on Netflix.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
It's dumb.
Yep.
It's dumb as hell.
Yep. But I can understand when you were young, but it made you afraid of all clowns?
Yeah.
Like Ronald McDonald. Like, that's not your guy.
No. Nobody would clown nah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't understand. Like, I get why clowns could be scary.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why people are afraid of Pennywise. I get that. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a very special kind of fear of clowns, but I don't really understand. Like, I know people who are just scared of clowns. I don't know if it's the makeup, if it's the shoes, if it's the nose.
Because it's really just a person in
makeup.
In makeup.
Yeah.
many other people who wear makeup.
Are you
So
afraid of
I don't.
mimes?
Say again.
Mimes?
Nah, I don't think there was a lot of moms around, but I'm sure if I
No,
saw one, I would be
but
like, "Oh,
mimes
it's a
are like,
clown."
if I had to put them on a scale, mimes are way scarier than clowns. Way scarier than clowns.
And maybe it wasn't like clowns in particular. It was just that movie. And then, like any clown I saw was not trusted after that, like
Man,
Not trust
it
me.
just.
did you tell your son that you were afraid of clowns?
Yeah, I did.
Did you tell him why?
I told him it was a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And he saw the poster and he was like, "This looks stupid." And I was like, "It is stupid."
That's so funny.
This looks stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just laugh at the thing that I was terrified of.
Well, yeah, but there's probably other things that he's afraid of, right? Because he told you he didn't know he was scared of clowns.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely the whole Pennywise thing, because for him to say I didn't know I was afraid of clowns, like I guess until he saw that.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, now that he's seen it, is he afraid of clowns now? Like, is he like if you were like, "Hey, we going to the Universal Circus," would he be like, "Nah, dog, I'm good. Like, I'm out"?
No, for him, I think it's just Pennywise. But he mentioned clowns as a whole. But I think it was just the whole Pennywise thing, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have intentions on scaring him?
No, I don't. At least not yet.
Okay.
Would you be able to put your fear of clowns aside to dress up like a clown?
Oh no, I'm not afraid of clowns now.
Oh, all right. Sure, Coop.
I'm not afraid of clowns now.
When he asked if, when he said the name Ronald McDonald, I laughed because your face was like,
"Yeah, nah, dude." Like you.
No, because I didn't like. No, because I like I said, then no clown, not one. I don't care how happy the meal is. It's not going down.
So all right. So then when did you get over it?
I can't even tell you that. It was kind of like, why was I scared? It was a lot of things that I was scared of as a kid, and I got older. I'm like, why was I terrified of this? It didn't make any sense.
Huh? At some point, you started to take the scenario and go, okay, there shouldn't be a face in a window on the second floor. Don't worry about it. Is that what happened? I'm just asking. Because I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not positive when I stopped being afraid of the dark. I think I don't know. I think at some point I realized that, like, after you're in the dark long enough, like, your eyes adjust. And then you, like, kind of can see anyway. Like, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really different.
Yeah.
Things are still where they are.
As a kid, my imagination would run wild if something scared me,
Yeah.
So, like, my grandmother's basement was terrifying to me.
Hey, Slim, listen. My grandmother's basement. The creepiest. Like, we're talking a row house in Philadelphia. The staircases are already only this big. And they're super, super steep. Right? And, it's unfinished and it's damp. And it smells like a basement. You know what I'm saying? Like, it smells like an old, damp city basement. And my grandmother used to threaten, like, when we'd be, like, in her kitchen eating, my grandmother would tell us that if, like, we didn't finish our vegetables, she had, like, a button she could press and a hole would open in the floor and you would drop into the basement, right? Like, no bull. And, but she also used to threaten to hang us upside down by our toenails. So that's, like, yeah. I want you to think about that.
Your grandma is Filch?
No. 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 Nah, that was a thing. Like, I will hang
Yeah.
you upside down by your toenails.
My grandma's basement kind of looked like a garage, and then I remember one time, like all my cousins, they kept coming downstairs. They kept coming back upstairs with like icicles and everything, and I wanted one. I went downstairs to get one. There was 2 refrigerators, and I opened the wrong fridge because there was a pig's head in one of them. That's the fridge I opened, and it just like
perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
Terrifying.
Oh my god, that's so good.
I like it.
Conversation is maybe I've been sitting here thinking about whether or not there might have been something off with me as a kid because I'm scrolling through the list of normal childhood fears, and I can't remember being afraid of them. But even on the subject of your grandparents' basement, my grandmother lived in like it was about the size of like a what is it like a trailer, but it had a basement, and she's a bit of a hoarder. And downstairs, it's just like walls of craft supplies with just porcelain dolls everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Then a random small tube TV with all of my uncle's, his horror movie collection.
Mm.
And that should be, like, ideally, that's very scary.
I was going to say, that sounds like the creepiest.
It does. It literally sounds like you're describing the setting from a horror movie.
But I was just chilling down there, hanging out.
Yeah, nah. My grandmother also collected dolls. She had tons of porcelain dolls. I'm positive that's like where my collecting bug came from. We still have a lot of her dolls. Most of them are in boxes and stuff now, but like she had a room that was just dedicated to like. And here's the other thing: her bathroom, like her upstairs bathroom, was like all black tile, dark as shit in there, bro. Like, and she had one of those lights that like you pull the chain, and it just goes kink, 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 and eventually the light comes on. Right next to the room with all the dolls staring at you as you walk past, like that kind of shit. Yeah,
that's such a creepy hobby too. Like porcelain dolls. I wonder why that was such a big thing.
I mean,
my oldest sister actually collected them for a while too.
Yeah, my mother did.
Yeah.
I need when we get off, I'm gonna do a deep dive on.
Well, I mean, like, I think honestly, part of the thing with porcelain dolls was like they were like the closest thing you could get to something that looked like real people. So, like, my grandmother had dolls that like look like children. Like they look like little life-size children. Like they were, bigger than like a My Buddy.
That's still creepy.
And that's super creepy. That's not like I'm not like, but like, and of all kinds. But my grandmother collected all kinds of toys, so it wasn't just like porcelain dolls. It was like my grandmother traded me for like my toys. Like I had an Incredible Hulk toy, and she was like, I have to have it. She would trade me. She had like the set of like Welcome Back Kotter and like all that kind of stuff. Like it was just like she was a collector. Everything labeled, little tabs on them with the names of what they are and where they came from, all of that.
She sounds cool. My grandmother just had like porcelain dolls nestled into like her piles and stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't know why. Those are the only toys she collected.
Man, that's cool. Full on display. Frosty, what's your topic?
Mine actually has to do with, I don't know, you saw me on Monday and I didn't have these.
Huh?
And it kind of brought up a topic with somebody that I was speaking with about how like not having these kind of felt like made me feel almost diminished in self-confidence.
So when you say these, for the people who are only listening via audio.
Sorry. Yeah. I have hair extensions and I used to have claws until I ripped one of my natural nails. So like that's kind of the stuff that I do for me to feel confident.
Sure.
And I've had like people say like, yeah, but you're beautiful. Like you don't need that kind of thing. And it's like, thank you. But like on some level, like we do things so that we feel that. Like you can be told it as many times as somebody wants, but like, so I was just wondering, like I was bullied as a kid and this is kind of how I alleviate those feelings of like inadequacy. And I was wondering if you guys have anything similar like that.
I think I think most people have a version of themselves that they think of when they think of themselves, like a best version of themselves. And I don't think that is always rooted in some sort of like insecurity that should be resolved or confronted. I think it's pretty natural to have an idea of who you are and what you look like. And how you style yourself or doing yourself, what makes you feel more like yourself. I think a lot of times in these conversations, people frame it as vanity or something super. But I don't think, and I've done a lot of, thinking about all sorts of things related to this or under this umbrella. But I think the closer what we see in the mirror and what we present to the world, the closer that aligns with who we feel we are and how we see ourselves, that it's just natural for us to feel more complete and more settled.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right. And that's like, I was kind of talked down to for feeling that I don't feel like myself or as confident without these things. And I was kind of like, it's me. Like, these are things that I feel like are part of me.
I mean, I think, here's the thing. I think part of it is that you're talking about adjusting something that is a part of who you are naturally. So when I say that, I mean, we're talking about hair extensions being that hair is something that is a natural part of you, right? It grows as a part of you, right? If you go and you get your nails done, you're modifying something that is like a natural part of you, right? And I think the difference is that a lot of people can't separate the concept of, well, I dress a certain way, or I wear certain clothes, or when I went shopping, I picked out this shirt because I like the way this shirt looks on me. And I feel better when I go out wearing this shirt, not just because of how I looked when I saw myself in the mirror, but because of how I know I am now presenting myself to other people, right? And so self-image, I think a lot of times we are, it's much easier for people to separate the idea of something that is a layer you put on, like your clothes, right? So the shoes you wear, the jeans you choose, your shirt, or the accessories you choose, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, those kinds of things, right? It's a lot easier, I think, for people to separate that from the parts of us that we modify that are the more natural parts. So whether it is you choose to color your hair, or again, you do something to your nails, even if it means you clip them a certain way. If you, like, Lucky's got tattoos, you have tattoos, I have tattoos, right? Some of those things are very personal, and they're for us. Most people can't see most of my tattoos, right? So many people don't know I have them at all. It's not for them. It's for me. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a time that they were for me, for other people.
Sure.
So I think it's part of trying to maybe to find the right wording. One, you shouldn't have to defend yourself to anybody. So that really doesn't
yeah. It just got me thinking about it, you know?
Sure. But two, sometimes it's just framing, right? So when somebody says that to you and they're like, oh, you put the hair extensions in, you don't really need the hair. You look great without it. And when you explain, I feel better, or this makes me feel more like me, right? To help put it in perspective for them, maybe it is, well, why'd you pick that shirt today? You know what I'm saying? Like, what made you put on the outfit you chose today? Why that outfit? Why those colors? Why is your favorite color, right? And why do you choose to wear it and put it in front of people? It's the same thing. I think sometimes it's just framing. And I think that's something that modifies the way you look to people on the outside that isn't something, I mean, I guess technically you can remove hair extensions, but like, again, that isn't just a layer, right? That you can just pull off, so to speak.
I mean, people will say that too about any layer. Like I have a wig on a wig stand right here. I can just
Sure.
slap it on, take it off. I have makeup. I can wash it off.
Right.
I have
Yeah.
tuck-on nails that I wear. People react to beauty specifically in a really ugly way. So
Yeah.
when I get stuff like that, it doesn't even cross my mind to explain it or justify it. Because like think of what Frosty said. She was talked down to
Sure.
because of this thing. This person saying you should feel better about yourself than blah blah blah. So, the motives of a person who will try to make you feel bad about something, telling you they making you feel bad because you don't feel good about something, and that's an assumption that they're making, right? That person's motives already are out of alignment. In my experience, people like that are usually coming from a place of projection. Sometimes
Yeah.
bitterness there, insecurity. They might be trying to chop you down the side, and so I don't even bother explaining it. I personally will lean in if I can tell something like that really gets under your skin, and that's how you react, and I lean into it.
Sure.
Yeah,
But when
my issue was, I mean, it was always closed for me. Especially in, I guess, our nerd community. Like, I felt like I needed the best X-Men shirt or the best, Spider-Man, whatever, at the time. But I didn't really care. It came from clothes to even like my weight. I'm a bigger guy than, and that bothered me for a little bit, but I don't care. So, I mean, after a while, I don't know. It just really didn't matter as much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna push back a little bit. I do disagree a little. I think someone who made you feel bad, right, about the fact that you don't necessarily feel as good about yourself when you don't have those things isn't necessarily that person trying to make you feel bad, right? Because that person, I think, thinks they're giving you a compliment.
Absolutely. So yes, that happens too. Like where they think they're coming from like a place of like, but you're beautiful the way that you are.
Right.
Like I said, thank you.
Sure.
But like to me, I feel like it's almost inadequate, like where I am. And that comes from a place of being bullied through my entire developmental childhood. Like
Sure.
And so, and that's like, I wish that it was not that way. Like, I wish I didn't feel like I needed the longer hair and like that kind of stuff. But it's like, when I don't have it, I feel like weird.
I think that the thing is, I think you don't need it.
Yeah.
But I think you want it because it makes you feel better, and that's okay.
And that's where I'm trying to like, are there things that you guys do and like you love that some people find like weird? Like, why do you think you need that?
Yeah, everything that when I wear makeup, tell me makeup, and I'm really crazy to that because it's like obviously I don't eat makeup. Why would you think? Like
Right.
I do respond regardless of what a person's intentions are. I could understand their intentions. It doesn't matter. The implication there is that I'm wearing makeup because you think I need it. You think that I think I need your opinion on it. I don't need any of it.
Right.
The takeaway there should be that your opinion probably should be kept to yourself. That's how I feel. But yeah, I get that. You can tell by the way I'm reacting to it. I get it a lot.
Yeah.
Things that I choose to do. There's always somebody who will come out of the woodwork with an opinion. And piercings, tattoos. Sometimes I dress, very feminine. Sometimes it's the other side of that spectrum.
Yeah.
However, I feel that could be the thing, the difference maybe between, what I have that I do versus, your hair extensions and your nails. Like mine is on like a very wide spectrum. So one day you'll see me and I'll be dressed presenting this way, and then the next day it's another thing. And yes, in short, yes, I get a lot from people about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a thing that I think I personally years ago learned to lean into being me. Like I do think that like throughout like early middle school and high school, I was attempting to personify what I thought people who look like me and like what I like were supposed to look like and how they were supposed to act, what they were supposed to do. I come from a very, I did music for a long time. Hip hop has a very set of rules. This is what we look like. This is how we talk. This is how we dress. This is where we come from. This is, you know what I'm saying? And so, also, sometimes it's just a matter of like what that environment is for you, right? And so, yeah, I would definitely say that being a parent changed a lot of that. I think for me,
I could see that.
I agree with that too.
Because I shouldn't say you. I wanted my kids to always be able to feel comfortable in who they are and what they were doing, and that they were supported, whatever that was. And realistically, I know that's not always the case with them, right? I don't think that's always the case with anybody. Most people don't have that. For me, I think I learned to see the things that I like in things and go after those things. And then anybody who also happens to enjoy or like those things, welcome. You know what I mean? And if you don't, that's cool. There's a space for you, right? And I'm also very open to the ideas of as a matter of fact, I'm probably more open to the ideas of people being different from each other, right? And from to the idea of gaining experience by recognizing that other people's experiences make them who they are, and that helps to separate them from who they are.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of times men I think men are taught, not necessarily on purpose, but are taught that it's their job to make a woman feel good about who she is. I think that a lot of men feel like there's a certain level of responsibility that they have, right? And many people, not just men, many people are not taught how to compliment, right? So rather than saying, your hair's different, I really like it, love the color, like the longer hair on you, right? Look great. But you know what? I like short hair too. And being able to leave it at that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like also somehow inferring or feeling the need to also let you know that like maybe I like the short hair better. Like that, who gives a shit if you like the short hair better, right? That's right. But again, because you didn't do it for them, you did it for you. Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult concept, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But especially men to understand. Because 97% of what we do is about you. So we don't, like, internally, we don't really, most men, even if they told you they do, most men don't choose the things they choose, dress the way they dress, pick the car they pick because it's what they like. It's because they've learned to like what they think other people will like about them. Right. Because you're taught to peacock.
Yeah.
That's just, it's part of the natural. So it's hard for them to understand, right? The idea, right? Like somehow, somewhere in a lot of men's mind, the fact that you go through the pain of wearing heels, like, that's tough.
Yeah. I've heard that one before too. Yeah.
You do that for us, right? Like, no, like I don't, you know what I mean? Like, so then why do you do it? Right? Like if it hurts, If it doesn't make you feel good, why do you do it?
There's always the thing too that seems to escape guys like that. Like, I'm not interested in men, so literally nothing that I do is for men. But also, if it were, the guys who tend to be the ones who take that approach are not the guys that the girls are going after. Like, most of the time, this guy at the gas station 2 days ago, he was there, no shirt on, nipples out in the daytime.
Good for him.
Asking me for some change to buy a Black and Mild, and I was like, I got that, sir.
Sure.
We all need, whatever.
Yeah.
I got $3 for you. And then he was like, I bet you look really good without all that makeup on. I'm like, sir. You're not the guy for this.
But listen, do you ever want to respond by being like, "Hey, but for real though, I don't." Like just being like, "Nah, I don't. Like, I'm hideous under this shit. Like I don't like." Like, nah, you're wrong.
I mean, it's always a guy like that, really. So, I do think I don't have that experience very often, but in my lived experience, it's always a guy who you get a sense that probably around other men probably look at that guy like, yo, what's up with you? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, again, but that's the thing. Like, I honestly believe that he thought that by saying what he said to you, that was like the greatest compliment ever because you're beautiful without makeup. You don't need all of that. This is the highest compliment. All right, listen. Let me put some things. Hey, Coop. I was gonna say back me up on this, but I don't really need you.
I'll be over here.
I love you though. I personally, and I know that this is a thing for a lot of other guys, have generally always found myself more attracted to the women who I feel like aren't trying. Like didn't bother, like just like if we're walking through the grocery store and it's just like wife beater t-shirt, sweatpants, I don't do flip-flops, but New Balance.
I explained that to somebody the other day.
That I don't like flip-flops.
Gage doesn't do flip-flops?
Yeah, fuck them joints.
His family's not allowed to wear flip-flops?
Nope. Yeah, like, and I'm going to tell you that there's a thing about feeling like, should you be fortunate enough to lay down and spend the night with this person, you're not going to be afraid of or surprised by what they look like when you wake up. That, like, the idea of that, listen to me, that's a very, very, very real thing. It's a very real thing.
I mean, I have noticed that men who don't wear makeup specifically have a very hard time gauging what someone looks like without makeup and filters and lashes versus me, where I can immediately tell I wear makeup. I know what makeup like. Yeah. But I do have to say it is hilarious to me that guys can look at, especially like the birthday makeup, the girls in birthday makeup, and not have a sense of what their actual face looks like.
No idea what it. I mean, and I might not if I didn't have daughters and didn't talk makeup. You know what I mean? Like if it wasn't a thing at all, I might not have any idea. But I know for a lot of guys that's a thing, right? Like that's what he said to you. is pretty dumb. It's pretty asinine. But in his head, this is a top-notch compliment right here. I'm walking away with this. Like this can't miss. There's no way, right? And so that's the idea of insulting what you currently look like to say that even as good as you look now, you would look better if you got rid of all of that shit. In their heads, Coop, I guarantee you made this mistake. In their heads, it sounds like a compliment. Like it sounds like the right thing to say.
I get that.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying
But
that's
like
what it
what
sounds like.
how
I'm trying to see if I made that mistake.
How she's reacting is exactly like what I mean. It's like, yeah, I get it, but like, let me be me. Let me do me. It doesn't
not
matter
about
what
you.
think.
I feel like I might start telling people when they say stuff like that they would look better with makeup.
Oh my gosh, I will. Can we go out and like both of us do this together?
Listen, y'all can go out and do that if I can go, because I need to be there. I need to be there when it goes down. Yeah,
if that ever happens, I'm gonna text Gage and be like, "You gotta tell Luckii this just happened, and I did it."
Straight up. Yeah, I mean, I don't,
But I don't even know. Well, I might have made that mistake. You're right. But thinking about that, like, I don't even know what the reaction, I guess, would be. Like, yo, you don't need all that makeup, and you're like, I don't. Like I don't know.
For real?
Really?
Yeah, the other part is, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, because the thing about it is, clearly he doesn't actually know. Like, if you know what I'm saying? Because he hasn't seen you without makeup. He don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's hedging his bets. He's hedging his bets, right? This is should I ever get to see you without makeup? I bet I'd still think you're cute. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I bet I would. Sir, you'll never know. That's all you got to say. Sir, you'll never know. I guess we'll never find out. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll Center? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, look as a parent, like, I tried to make sure that my daughters were confident enough in who they were and what they looked like to not feel like they needed makeup. That was an important thing for me. For them, it just felt like I was forbidding them to wear makeup until they were 16, which basically I was. However, they're almost all things done with intention, right? For me. So, the idea of not allowing them to fall into the trap that I think is set a lot of times by big business. You got to buy this, and you need this, and if you want to look like such and such, you got to do this, and you need to have this, and look at this magazine, and look how they look, and dress this way, and whatever, right? Trying to navigate that, right, as a parent. You make decisions that you think are the ones that help make the most sense. The fact that they choose to wear makeup now, I feel like relatively confidently I can say that they don't do it because they feel like they have to have it to find that confidence that, say, Frosty, you're looking for by wearing makeup or having the extensions, right? But my kids do lean on other things for their anxieties or for, whatever that is. And it could be some other form of dressing or something. It might just not be makeup. It could very easily be something I just completely missed, right? I'm pretty sure we all have our hang-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I just got over most of mine by the time I was in my early 20s.
I think one of the beautiful things about living in this time, because even in like the late, like around 2010, makeup technology was terrible. I went to high school from 02 to 06. We looked terrible. We looked really bad by comparison. Like, all of us looked a mess. Our clothes were awful. Our makeup was crazy. And then you see high schoolers in the next decade that are all red carpet ready so easily for like
crazy.
$6.
Yeah.
And for a while, I'm not even gonna lie, I felt pathetic about it at the time, but I couldn't fight it. I was like, yo, why was I so ugly in high school? And y'all get to look like this. Like, I was dead mad at teenagers for it. And, I guess there is something.
Yeah, but that's hindsight. Like, that's very, very 2020 hindsight. Because back then,
No,
like,
I knew you looked bad.
Did you know you look bad?
Yes, I did.
You just didn't know how to fix it.
There was no way to fix it. We all looked bad.
Because you didn't have the internet to teach you. Like TikTok is an amazing teaching tool.
Even celebrities back then looked bad. Like, do you remember the belt that was in no loops, just left on the waist, just dropped over a dress, over bell bottom jeans? That was a red carpet look that they pulled off many times. Like, we all looked bad.
Yeah, but somebody told them that was a good look.
Yeah, but I was so aware. I remember being aware of being like,
that like, this is not a good look. I know they're telling us this is a good look, but this is not a good look.
Yeah, I started to just stick with like regular jeans and a t-shirt because we were wearing business casual in the club. Y'all remember that?
Sure.
Yeah, and it wasn't even good business casual. It was big jeans and large button-ups. Because remember when Jay-Z told us that was a good look?
Yes.
We legitimately
change
looked
clothes.
crazy.
Change clothes and go wear a button-up. But here's the thing. But you also have to understand that like that was in a response to like only ever wearing jeans and a t-shirt
or
and
jeans and
Timbs.
a jersey. And he was like, I got the fix for that. We're gonna just put on a 4XL button up over this same outfit.
I would tell you that like yeah, because when I have clothes from then that like I'm much bigger now than I was then, and them shits don't fit me from then. Like now, I'm like, yo, I was drowning.
I've seen pictures from that era, so I know you looking at me like, hold on. Like, I was getting my looks off, and at the time, you did look great. I'm sure. But I think we all look bad.
I'm gonna tell you. I felt the same way. Like when I look at like what I thought, I remember feeling like when I was in high school that girls in high school didn't look like girls in high school now. However, I'm wrong. Because girls when I was in high school were definitely dating guys who were way older than high school.
That's still we might be talking about two slightly different things, right?
Sure.
Because I think high schoolers of any generation probably viewed each other and themselves as looking older than they do to us in our 30s or whatever.
Correct.
So I think that is different than like when I was in high school. If you could slick your hair back into a ponytail and put some butterfly clips in it, you were done. Like that was it. Well, like yeah, that was it. Now they have full frontal like lace sewings that were just 8 years ago $400 a unit. You get them on Amazon now for $80, and then their little sister in middle school can install it. Like
yes,
it's a much different time. But I took that tangent to say that I think in this day and age now they're putting out for men with receding hairlines. You have options. You could go to your barber and you could get, a fade and stuff. And, they have cosmetic options coming out for the guys and stuff. I feel like if there's something that you do feel insecure about, insecurities are natural or whatever,
like do it.
There's an affordable fix.
Do it. Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
And go take care of you.
Yeah. Like, this is very different, but in my mind, somewhat related. So, like, a couple 100 years ago, people were dying from diarrhea, and we have a fix for that. Like, if you diarrhea this morning, you'd probably be okay to go this afternoon, right?
Yeah.
You be kind of
world
crazy.
Advances.
You be kind of crazy to be like, no, this is my natural self. I'm
now, like the idea of like taking somebody out of like 100, 200 years ago and bringing them to now and just simply seeing all the different hair colors would probably destroy them. Like destroy them, right? I mean, look, I do think that as a society, right? Look, the more we go forward, the more we go backward, because there's always going to be resistance, right? Yeah. But like I can remember when I first started getting tattoos were far more taboo than they are now. You know what I mean? Like just, CEOs and Billionaire Boys Club, people who are running $1 million companies, are tatted up, across the board with all kinds of stuff. It used to be that like you couldn't get a job if you had tattoos at all. If you, didn't have like so much of that kind of stuff is changing, or has changed, right? And continues to change. There are some people who are just less enlightened, I think, right? And I think the important thing is, Frosty, for you, there's nothing wrong with you. Like wanting to have your hair extensions, that making you feel better, whether you feel better about yourself or you just feel more comfortable / confident. That's not something that's wrong with you specifically because you have hair extensions at all. Again, for me, if you just put it in perspective of like, yeah, I chose this outfit or this shirt today because it makes me feel a certain way, right? We have our favorite pair of shoes or our favorite hat or our favorite shirt. We have our favorite bra or pair of boxers that nobody else sees. We just rocking them because they there. Like, listen, ask around. I know a lot of people got lucky draws. Nobody ever sees them. Why are they lucky? It ain't about being seen. It's just about how you feel, right? So the fact that what you have chosen to do, right, or what it is that you do that gives that to you, the fact that it happens to be outward and is a piece that feels like a permanent change, right? Because when you change clothes tomorrow, the extensions will still be there, right? So that makes it more noticeable. That's the only real difference. It just happens to make it more noticeable. Which means that there's a certain amount of likelihood that it's going to draw a bit more attention. But if it gives you the confidence, just walk with it.
That's kind of what I was just trying to like talk. Like, I didn't mean for it to like center around my extensions. I just meant like everyone should feel comfortable how they feel comfortable, and they should be allowed to do so.
Yep. No doubt. 100%.
Yeah.
Luckii, what's your topic?
My topic. Oh man. I really wish that there was a way to use Justin Timberlake yelling DC beat your feet as a topic. It's not, but I just want to at least mention it because every time I think of it, it makes me laugh. Did you see that video?
No. Quick? What?
No. So he was in DC a few days ago, and he was wearing a button-up and 60-year-old man pants, and he was on DC. And so his button-up was like a small, and his T-shirt underneath was like a medium. You can visualize this, right?
Oh, I can visualize it. I don't like it, but I can visualize it.
Like, DC, beat your feet. And I can't even describe what he did after that, but it wasn't good. It also looked like his knees are giving him trouble.
Where was it? Where did he do this?
Somewhere.
Who did he say this to?
This was something in the water festival in DC.
It was like something in the water.
Yeah. He did look like he just got off work and just like hopped on stage.
Like, I don't even, where would you say he worked? Like a Bassin Pro? At like a retiree that got a part-time job at Bassin Pro checking what he started doing. That is literally exactly how he was dressed. Man. DC beat your feet.
Yeah. And I don't know what he was doing. It looked like some of the moves from like My Love a little bit. Like he just took some of the choreography from that.
He just kind of like kicked his feet out in a few directions and made like this face while he did it with his arms out.
Yeah, he apologized today too.
He did. He did. I didn't get to watch it yet because we had just started recording, but he's like sitting on like a Diane Sawyer-ass couch. Like he's really trying to sell the shame that he should feel.
It was the way he yelled it though. It was just like DC, beat your feet, and it just he went off.
It was bad.
Was he performing?
Yes.
Had he just finished performing, or was this like before he performed?
I think it was mid-performance.
Oh, this is just like in the middle of it.
You know what they say? Local jokes get local work or something like that. Like I think he was just trying to speak to the audience.
Yeah. I'm sure he just thought, I know where I am, and somebody put me on. Somebody told me.
Yeah.
I know Wale.
I know black music.
I'm gonna say something.
I have some Timberland hits. Yeah.
He does. He does have. Oh, he got some joints.
He does, but he was dressed like, what was that name of that album? Man in the Woods.
Yeah.
He was dressed like that, but he was trying to give Future love, sex sounds, whatever it was. Anyway, that's not my topic, but I did want to mention it. I felt like I was know about it.
Thanks.
Okay. My topic. So I think what I want to go with is perspective on, right, the likelihood of a compulsive liar rehabilitating themselves, right? So
All right.
I'll give you some examples.
Please do.
The guy, that guy who always has a wild, crazy story to spice up his life, make it seem more interesting, something really unlikely that has happened to him. It happens every time he's outside of your line of sight. He seems to be always coming from a place of wanting to seem more interesting, right? So there's that guy. Then, another example is a person who has a very low threshold for criticism or, feeling shame for like disappointing people. So they'll just lie to avoid any type of conflict, which very often causes them to lie about small things. Like, hey, did you remember to put the laundry in the washer? Oh yeah, I did that, even though you can see that they didn't, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the likelihood of that person rehabilitating is? Because I think there's not a chance in hell, but I don't like to write people off like that. Sure. Just in general, personal growth is a thing. But logically, I don't see that. I don't feel like people like that have the internal resources required to one day be like a functional addition to anyone's lives.
Okay.
What?
Hold on. Give me a second because I have a question. When you say that person doesn't have the resources, what do you believe it would take? I think that's what it's about. What do you believe it would take when you say that person doesn't have the resources to, like, let's say, correct their behavior?
So most people that I know who, are honest in to any degree, they have some type of core personal ethics, right? Okay. So that could be a sense of integrity where they feel like they don't need to lie. Maybe they just feel strongly that lying is wrong. Or at the very least, they feel like lying for exploitation and personal gain is just, an offense they're just morally not willing to make. People who don't innately have that or they didn't grow up, being conditioned to have that in adulthood, I haven't seen any signs that it's possible to go from being void of that and thinking it is okay to lie to people, or it is okay to compartmentalize, it is okay, to exploit people, whatever. Of course, they generally frame that differently. Yeah. I just don't see any signs of a person going from there to one day being like, you know what? I've been making a grave mistake by asserting my will over people all this time. I'm gonna change.
You really took that bit to like to the top, like to the most. Okay.
Well, I have a very strong, albeit nuanced. I have a very strong, rigid code of ethics that I adhere to.
Sure.
And that's really the only thing that kind of keeps me, in line. And I recognize other people don't. And in talking to them, so another layer there is that if in the event they do realize, okay, well, this is wrong, this is causing harm, right? And that does make me feel bad. When they do realize that, then they have to cross the threshold of realizing that sometimes they won't get what they want, or they won't have their, their way, or they'll have to make sacrifices if they choose to be less manipulative and predatory or whatever with their life. And I don't know that type to be very egalitarian or self-sacrificing.
Sure.
So having said that, I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about compulsive liars, and should we continue to be hopeful for them or see them in hell?
I'm not going to hell. I mean, I might visit, but I'm not staying.
I always like that saying just because that's what it is. I mean, it doesn't imply it. It straight up says it. Like, we're going to vote. Yeah.
100%.
I'll say that to a certain degree, maybe not as high as you took it, but to a certain degree, I felt like I might have been that person. And it kind of goes back to Frosty's topic too. Most times I'm a quiet person. I'm kind of just in the room and everyone's talking. But it used to be like, I want to be part of the conversation, but I don't know how to, Okay. So let me just say some outrageous shit right now to fit into the conversation, to get my anxiety down, to feel like I'm part of, I guess that feeling of wanting to be part of the conversation, and just to say some wild stuff, to be like, oh yeah, I did this and this, and and at the end of the day, it's not even anything, and I guess that was part of me, like, caring about what people thought about me, or I'm not saying enough, so like I need to let people know that I know this topic, or I've been through this as well, and to a certain degree, but like you said, I don't care. I mean, nowadays, like, I don't care. You learn that it doesn't really matter. But I guess to save that person, I would just say that actions speak louder than words to that person. Like seeing how they are in certain rooms, and if you could tell the person's like a compulsive liar, if you could tell, and then like after a while you could tell, like, okay, they didn't really do the normal thing that they do. I guess like that's what I mean by actions speak louder than words. They're not always trying to jump into it or tell some kind of story just to relate, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is the distinction I do fail to make a lot, when the difference between like malicious or defensive, because I feel like most lying ultimately does come from a defensive place. But I guess I could do better with making distinctions between people who are just trying to participate or fit in versus people who are trying to steal change out of your console in your car.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean, but the people who just like over the top, they're telling stories and you keep going on and on about their life and not necessarily what it is you're talking about or whatever. There's definitely that out there. Yeah.
I think for compulsive liars, like if they can be called out on it and like recognize that it is a problem, like if they care enough to recognize that it is a problem, I feel like I'm a big advocate for therapy. So I feel like therapy could definitely be a benefit to somebody like that.
So they go to therapy and start lying about
yeah, exactly. Like, well, you hope the therapist is kind of like, okay, but are you telling the truth? Like, here, right. This is why we're here right now. Like, you lie about everything. You told me that. Like,
yeah.
So
I can imagine being a therapist.
Oh my God.
Lying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if a person is a compulsive liar and in some manner it does come from a malicious state of mind. Right? Like when you say, again, something that's as simple as like, I can clearly see you didn't put the clothes in the washing machine. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Hey, did you put the clothes in the washing machine? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I took care of that. Right? I think that part of the issue with something like that is that seems so harmless. Like it doesn't, like I think in their mind, right? Like it's not, okay, like the snowball effect that has, right? So you didn't put the clothes in the washing machine. So now they're not in the dryer, which means so-and-so can't put their clothes in the washing machine. So now they're behind. They don't have clean clothes to work tomorrow. And so, you know what I mean? And the snowball, right? But realistically, just saying, yeah, I'll put them in there. The lie isn't the thing that caused the issue. It's the fact that they didn't do it that caused the issue. And I think making the distinction between those things. So I don't necessarily think that what has to be addressed, at least in a situation like that, is the lie. Right? Because if you said, hey, did you put the clothes in the washing machine? And they said, nope, I forgot. But let me do it right now. Still, because you didn't put your clothes in the washing machine, so-and-so didn't get to put their clothes in the washing machine, and now they don't have clothes, the same issue still exists. Right? So I think what has to be addressed is what kept them from doing the thing they were supposed to do. Is it just that they procrastinate? Is it just that they, right? So I do believe that under a lot of circumstances, there's a root cause, right? That is generally when we address it. So listen, it's a firm belief of mine that a lot of times the reason why we fail to come to resolutions when we discuss anything, whether you call it an argument, whether it is an argument or a discussion, is because we point out the things that made us angry versus the things that actually would fix the problem and come to a resolution. So now I was mad at you because you didn't put the clothes in the laundry, but now I'm even madder because you lied about it. And so now I'm going to address you because you lied to me and I'm looking right at it. So now what you think, I'm stupid? And now we're talking about, oh, you think I'm stupid? And so now we're going to address that. And now you got to have an argument with me about whether or not you think I'm stupid. And then I'm going to ask you about why you be lying all the time because you lied about such and such the other day. And then that, right? And so we've snowballed, but we never addressed the issue. How come you didn't put the clothes in the washing machine? What were you doing that was so important? Why you always got your face in that video game? Or how come you was stuck on Instagram? Or how come you didn't set a reminder? Or how do we get to the thing that keeps you from being in a position where you need to lie in the first place? So if you take what Coop just said, Coop said, I used to feel like I needed to be a part of the conversation. And so I would just kind of come up with things to say so that I could, right? So what was the resolution of that? The resolution ended up being I learned not to be concerned about those kinds of things, right? I found something that allowed me to alleviate the thing that caused me to feel like I needed to lie. So can a compulsive liar come to a resolution? Sure. If we figure out and learn how to address what causes them to lie in the first place. Not necessarily the fact that they're lying, but there's almost always going to be something in the background that made them take that step, right? And so how do we address it? Is it that that person is insecure, right? And so they just say things that make themselves seem like they're bigger / larger than life. Realistically, if a person was lying because in order for them to feel more secure about who they are in front of people, would it be fair to frame that as the same thing as feeling like you have to dress a certain way or have hair extensions in order to feel better about who you are, right? To feel more confident in who you are, right? And so how do we address that thing? Well, putting extensions in your hair doesn't harm anybody else. Lying about being somewhere you weren't doesn't necessarily hurt anybody else, right? It doesn't not necessarily. I didn't say it, right? Doesn't necessarily hurt somebody else. It could under the right circumstances, right? But what's the root cause of that, right? Where do those insecurities come from? How do we have conversation? How do we do a better job of addressing other people in the room. Like I have a tendency to be like feel the need when I'm somewhere, even if like we're at something that I'm not hosting it, I'm just there. I gotta run around and talk to everybody, right? I want everybody to feel welcome. I don't want anybody to feel like they're not a part of it or they're out of place or whatever. So I'm running around and talking to all kinds of people, right? So for all I know, that person who doesn't say anything and ends up not being a liar also ends up being a mass murderer because they never got over whatever that thing was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So could it be done? Sure.
It sounds like the general consensus here is more about like harm, the harm in a person's like willingness to address whatever the underlying issue is. Because going to therapy is a choice that they'd have to make.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then there is, in my experience, trying to get to the underlying issue with people sometimes. Just being patient, because I get insecurities. Nowadays, as I get older, especially, I have less and less patience for things like that. But, in my younger years, I definitely would be a lot more patient with people trying to work through their issues with them, or be patient while they work through them. And I've noticed that a lot of that stuff isn't stuff other people can move the needle on unless the person themselves wants to.
So like they can be rehabilitated if they recognize that it's an actual problem. If they don't care, hell no, they can't be rehabilitated. They don't care.
Well, that's true about anything.
Exactly. So, but I think there is always a possibility that like if that person is deep down a good person and doesn't want to have to lie to make it through life, then yes, there is absolutely chance for rehabilitation.
I don't.
That literally is the first time the possibility of a compulsive liar being a good person deep down ever crossed my mind. I really am so like immediate now, but
yeah, I mean, I can certainly understand that. Like, you have to have your own safeguards.
Yep.
Right, and generally, like when you're judging a person, when you're considering a person's character, if a person is a liar, you're going to automatically put them in a specific category, right? And for you, right, if that means that person is an automatic no, I don't have time for you, I can't, I'm not dealing with it, I'm not even, right? But that also then is probably something that is deep down inside for you based on your experience, right? And so that means that that's something that you would have to address, right? So I mean, again, I think all things are relative, right? So, am I telling you that if you having this as a topic, if that it is a current event and there is a person who you have found to be a compulsive liar and you have felt the need to shun such person, am I telling you, no, let them back in your life, everything will be fine? That's not what I'm telling you. That's not what I'm telling you at all.
What specifically is happening is somebody that is a compulsive liar has caused a lot of destruction, even though it doesn't seem that they've realized. Like, now it seems like they're like, okay, a lot of destruction has happened because of things I've done. But, it gets murky. Like, the origin of their lying is pretty sympathetic, but then the way that they've handled those behaviors is, leaves a lot to be desired. And what I've been thinking about lately isn't necessarily letting them back into my life, but this harsh assessment that I have of them based off of how much destruction they caused. Now that they're realizing that they've caused this much destruction, even though they're not yet fully aware, of what they've done. They're sort of just now getting a sense of lying being wrong, lying being the cause. I'm considering whether or not I should be less harsh and less, final in my assessment of them, or if there is room to look at them a different way. Because I don't know how. I've just been very firm, no, you're a terrible person. nobody with morals would ever do these things you've done.
Yeah.
And now they could be lying about how they feel, you know, or how they're thinking about stuff. But like I said, I don't believe in really just writing people off. And if it is coming from a place of insecurity, perhaps being that harsh is not only like kind of condemning them to be in this way forever, but also condemning everybody else around them to experience more of what
you've already dealt with. I mean, look, here's what I'll tell you. I think first and foremost, self-preservation is always key. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your mind, your body, and your heart, your soul, and your spirit. Like that's a real thing. So if in dealing with this particular person, it's gonna upset your balance, right? Do the thing that's best for you. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't make it clear to them that, hey, look, I can't. Not now, not right now. I need, but maybe helping them to get some clarity, right, in what they have done, right, and in how that has affected you, how that affects what's going on around them, and how it sounds like nothing good has come out of the minuscule, what seemed like maybe minuscule or like the quote unquote little white lies, right? That just kind of pile on top of each other and turn into something worse and then into something worse and into something worse. But protect yourself first. That's,
Yeah.
I do believe that that's a general rule, right? You can't, it's very difficult to save people if you're not safe. Sometimes you have to throw yourself in front of the train to move the child off of the train tracks. And you don't always survive that, right? So you have to think about what else you have going on and how your sanity and your level of balance affects the other people that are around you and need you.
Mm-hmm.
So you consider those things first. Understand that if a person who is a compulsive liar can be rehabilitated, that is not your responsibility.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can't do it, but it doesn't mean you're responsible for making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's
important to know, because I've been feeling a lot of responsibility, even though, to your metaphor of, jumping in front of the train to move the child off the track, like that was the situation, and then the child still ended up getting hit by a train. I kind of got hit by another train that I shouldn't have been in front of, that they not live, type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goodness.
Yeah, I guess that is a very profound takeaway for me. It's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Nope. Protect yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's first and foremost.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the topic? Everybody's cool.
I'm good.
Cool, don't cry, man. So here's what I want to ask the panel today. Are rules actually meant to be broken?
I think it depends on the rule.
Right.
Does it depend on the rule? So okay. Sure. I'm willing to hear this out. Here's where I'm at. I heard somebody say that the other day, and it's not like it's the first time I've ever heard that, right? Well, rules are meant to be broken. And I was really thinking, like, yeah, but then why even bother having rules? Right? Okay. So I had to walk myself through this concept. So what I came to realize is that, at least in my opinion, rules are simply in place to help us measure the amount of chaos that exists. And that's it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, so if you if there are rules and everybody knows what the rules are, and there are people who go, let's say, outside of the rules, right? Like the difference between rules, policy, guidelines, there's a lot of gray area, I think, there. So here's what I'm going to do to kind of help us navigate where we are about this. Do any of you have personal rules that you have broken? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give me an example, Coop?
Don't spend this money. Save this money.
Yep.
And don't spend it, you taught me something a while ago, Gage. And it was
I'm willing to accept that. Sure.
and it was pretty much like a sign is made because they make signs for people because someone did that thing that is not supposed to be done. So rules can, and I guess are broken maybe before it's even a rule in a sense,
Sure.
So you make the sign there to make the rule to avoid the chaos, like you said.
So let me give you an example. You are
Open box before eating pizza.
sure. Right? Wait 30 minutes before you go swimming after you eat. Right? Somebody probably got a cramp and drown before people decided that's a rule. Cool. You go somewhere you've never been before. And
What happened, son?
there's a lot of woods. And there's a sign that says, don't feed the bears. What information can you delineate from what that sign says? One, there's bears. Why am I here? That's one. Two,
Yeah.
somebody fed the bears.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Now they're a
caused an
problem.
issue. Now there's a
Right.
problem. So in order to alleviate that problem, don't feed the bears. Now, the very next thing that comes to your mind, whether you realize it or not, is I bet somebody's gonna fucking feed the bear anyway.
Yeah.
Even though there's a sign, even though it's clearly stated, even if they tell you what the high likelihood is of something happening if you feed the bears.
I kind of have a story like this.
Do you?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Long time ago, I'm at New Jersey Six Flags. They had a little safari park.
Knew you was going to say this.
Uh-huh.
I'd never heard
Clearly.
this before, but I knew it had to do with animals and feeding in a literal way. Okay.
Clearly, don't feed the animals. My mom decides that the giraffe that comes to the car to give it some chips. Bad idea.
Of course.
Really
it was.
bad idea.
That's why the sign was there.
Yeah, that's why the sign was there. And I'm not thinking like to feed anything in the safari park because it's like wild. I mean, most of them are drugged, you could tell. But like
Sure.
they're coming like because I saw a rhino and it was just like chilling. I'm like, I feel like this thing would attack all these cars in a heartbeat,
Mm-hmm.
But there's a giraffe that comes to the car, comes to the window, and my mom rolls down the window to give this giraffe some chips. Terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And then his head almost got stuck in the car and it was shaking. Like it was a lot. So don't feed the animals.
Do not feed the animals.
Correct.
And I'm sure they don't like Lay's chips, so it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
We went through that same safari park and gave the giraffe Twizzlers.
Why the giraffes?
What?
It's like coming to the
Listen,
park and people
Can I tell
feed
you something? Giraffes seem friendly. It just look like they can't do nothing to you. But giraffes are some of the meanest. Have you ever seen giraffes fight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you realize that giraffes have horns?
Yes.
Why?
Yep.
Why? Why do giraffes have horns? Don't mess with them. Leave them joints alone. You gave a giraffe Twizzlers.
Twizzlers, yes. Also, terrifying experience. And in that same park, because people don't listen and they feed them, like the ostriches will like attack the windows and peck
Yeah, they'll peck the tires and the windows and everything.
The baboons pull pieces off the cars. Like, I think they had to close the safari down eventually because people were feeding the animals, and the animals were going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Frosty,
Mm-hmm.
what's a rule you have that you broke?
Don't watch scary movies in the theater surrounded by a bunch of people who will laugh at me.
That's a rule?
It is now.
Ah. And you broke it?
Several
you did
times.
It anyway?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Frosty.
Why do you keep Are you not learning?
I feel like if I saw you in the theater and I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
It was with my movie club. Like, we'd vote on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everyone, because I get scared very easily. I'm terrible with jump scares. Like, I will squeal like I'm a total baby. Mm-hmm. And so they all get a kick out of it. One of the quotes that still like people will say is, I don't go to scary movies with Mari to watch the movie. I go to watch Mari.
Mm. So
but I hate scary movies, and people think that's really weird because I'm a spooky person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like them.
Mm.
So I watch them for other people's amusement.
Oh, all right. Luckii?
Yeah. All of my rules feel so like I feel like I might be etching out a brand for myself here. But my rules will be something like don't befriend the locals. And then I befriend them and end up in some very convoluted Curb Your Enthusiasm meets Jerry Springer type of plot. I'll give you a quick example. This is just one out of so many, but like I ended up volunteering with a local organization, and there was a guy that was there. We bonded over having the same birthday, which is always a bad idea, by the way. He was like cool, but in a weird way. I ended up getting him a job with me. I had to get him fired for sexual harassment. So there's that.
Okay.
A few days later, I meet another guy, same city, same 8 square mile city. I meet this guy. He's cool. I end up like working with him, again, volunteering with another organization, but I ended up kind of like dating him. Come to find out, those 2 guys are brothers. And then stopped talking because he was also weird in a lot of other ways, but he works in City Hall with the mayor, who I also know because I was volunteering with yet another organization. So there's this weird web that starts to form. And sometime after we stopped talking, I showed up to this like racism in Annapolis sort of panel. Dude's there doing a panel. I'm in the audience. It's only like 3 rows of seats because it's a small environment. And guys just like giving all of my talking points from the last time we had lunch together. Like literally everything he was arguing with me about, he's suddenly telling this room of people my talking points. And then at the end, I ended up leaving and basically found out about his like hidden girlfriend that whole time. And soon after that was that mass shooting in Annapolis. So like he and the mayor were all over the news. If you can follow the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme, so like work, and I turn on CNN and it's this guy, and I'm like, okay. And right after that, he was in a play, a musical called MLK the Musical, and he played MLK, and the play was about just MLK at home probably, and he was singing and just performing. Is I'm okay the musical.
Can you?
Why do I feel like you told me this?
It's played out over bad years, and I'm leaving out a lot of things. But you get a sense of I'm just meeting a couple people in Annapolis and just trying to like volunteer with some local organizations. Quickly becomes something very weird. And it always ends up in one of those things where it's like I don't even want to go to the grocery store anymore.
Okay, hold on. What's the rule?
Not to befriend people in Annapolis. Like at all.
Okay, specifically Annapolis, not necessarily locally, just like not Annapolis.
Oh yeah, no, specifically here in Annapolis.
Okay, and are you continuing to break this rule? All right, all right.
I'll try to just because I'm not, a bitch or something like that. So people will be nice to me, and I'm like, okay, at this level of distance, what's the worst thing that can happen? And they immediately show me, and it's always something I never considered as a possibility. It's like, what are the odds, really?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then, was that rule meant to be broken? Like, are we like? Because
well, you asked if rules are meant to be broken, and the first thing that came to mind is this rule that I keep breaking, and immediately every time I'm just like
regret.
This is why I'm not friendly with people.
All right, so here's the thing, right? I feel like rules require, again, I think rules are established so that we can measure chaos. Who's on the side of following the rules, who's on the side of not, right? And then deciding whether or not those who have to be chosen, someone has to enforce the rules. When you have your own rules, there's only one enforcer, right? But then you also have to have consequences for what happens when you break the rules. Otherwise, it doesn't matter that you have rules, right? So if it's don't feed the animals or you get kicked out the park, right? Or don't feed the animals or you'll get eaten. Whatever that happens to be, right? Somebody has to enforce the rules. And if it's your rule, you don't ever actually have to penalize yourself if you break the rule. Right? So like Coop, you said like, don't spend this money. But then if you do, other than the fact that money is gone, is there a penalty for it? Or have you just said, my rule is I can't spend this? You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How do you navigate what the penalties are for your own rules?
The penalty would be, in my particular situation, insanity of keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. If I keep spending the money I'm supposed to save, what am I saving for, I
mean, how's that different from being a compulsive liar?
That's true.
I feel like a good, what am I trying to say? I feel like personal rules, the rules you set for yourself, are in place because you don't necessarily have to enforce the consequences, like keeping you from those consequences. Just like my rule, like I don't have to enforce anything. If I'm friendly with locals, I'm immediately thrust into weird situations. So the rule there is in place for my protection.
Correct. Right? Correct.
So I have to suffer when I break mine. So
sure, but is the suffering that you endure by breaking the rule what the penalty is?
That's my penalty, is I have to sit through a scary movie that I would have never watched except for this very specific situation. So yeah, that's definitely my penalty.
So what makes us decide if it's not, let's say it's a rule that we have, but it's a rule for other people. right? I don't deal with compulsive liars. I don't. If you do A, B, and C, that's it. You've crossed the line and whatever, right? Like, when do we decide, or what makes us decide when it's okay for a rule to be bent?
For me, the rules that I set for other people is if whatever I'm like using in my like evaluation or my assessment of a situation, if there's some stuff that's kind of unclear, like if I don't have a full data set, then I might be a little more lenient so I could get more data and determine how I'm going to approach it from there.
Situational.
So, yeah.
Like the building of a rule is situational, and like, and it's almost always as a result of something else, as we talked about earlier. Somebody else had to mess that up, so now there's a sign.
Right.
And I feel like you can start with a basic rule, but then it kind of has to almost always has to change in some way, because the world is not constant. Like, things are always changing. So, like, it's almost like you're not necessarily breaking your rules all the time, but you are bending them or morphing them to fit the appropriate situation.
Have you ever held someone accountable for something someone else did? So, for instance, like, you dated somebody and this person did something that you were like, well, I'll never do that again. And, whatever, I'll never allow that again. And then in, I don't know, the next relationship or two relationships down or whatever it is, when I say held them accountable, like, there's a barrier that's now created because of a rule you put in place to protect yourself, that this person can't cross that threshold.
I would say yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think mines are like very unreasonable. Like I have a thing with communication, so indirect communication really doesn't work for me, and I have tried to make it work because that's it's just a communication style, doesn't really mean anything one way or another about a person, and I've tried with many different relationships, different types of relationships, different people, and I just ultimately realized it doesn't work for me. So moving forward, when I'm dating and I can tell, I'll have a conversation first. I'm not just gonna immediately be like, "Oh no, you should have said this more clearly." I don't do that. But when I notice there's a pattern there of indirect communication, I know that doesn't work for me. Then I do have a rule in place where I'm just not gonna waste my time on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on. Okay. I mean, I think so. Is there a fundamental difference between laws and rules?
Huh.
I mean, laws are generally like, they're a safety measure, really. Like, I mean, rules are too, but like, man, I don't know how I'm trying to say it.
When I hear law, I think of like a higher authority, or like something that governs a broader scope of people. I don't know how right or wrong.
Yeah, a rule that'll affect more than just you and your circle, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
A law of the land versus just a rule you have for yourself, sort of thing. But I guess personal rules could be very similar to laws, especially if you enforce them for yourself and other people.
Well, but while there is the possibility that all rules apply to all people and all laws apply to all people, the consequences for whatever those rules or laws aren't always the same. So, like, just as an example, let's say that premeditated murder, as a as a law. And again, it can be different in different states, different countries, different. But let's just say premeditated murder. You could be looking at anywhere from 25 to life, right? Something, someone, somewhere dictates whether you get 25 or you get life or you get something in between, right? So it's not a very simple, a finite. Like there are some places where it's like if you steal, we just chop your hand off. Like the hand on. That's the rule. That's the penalty. That's what it is, right? And in some cases, we take into consideration how premeditated the murder is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if rules aren't meant to be broken, are they meant to be bent?
I'm big on context and
Yeah.
more spirit of the law than letter of the law. Always.
Sure, I dig that.
I would agree.
So it just depends. It varies from person to person. Like you said earlier, Frosty, it's situational.
Yep.
Okay. Coop.
Yeah.
Parent.
Mm-hmm.
You set rules for your son.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you tell your son what the consequences are of breaking those rules?
Not for all of them.
Huh. Why?
I guess earlier on, I'm not gonna say not for all of them because I guess he will know the consequences now. But if I tell him not to do something and he does it anyway, now you need to know and experience, I guess, the consequence behind it. You know?
Sure.
Of course, it does make sense to tell your child, what's going to happen if you don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in some situations, me personally, I'm just going to tell you, all right, you didn't do what I asked you to do. Well, this is what's going to happen next. This is what happens when you don't do this. I don't necessarily have to always tell you what the consequence is going to be. Just know that there will be one if you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Do you ever fail to follow through on the consequence?
With the consequence?
Yeah.
I used to.
Okay.
He was cuter.
Hey, listen. That's a real ass answer.
I believe it.
That's a very real answer. I'm positive that like my older two kids would tell you I'm way more lenient on my youngest daughter than I was on them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can speak from that from me being the oldest sibling and my brothers and sisters being like 10 years younger than me. More than that, And knowing how me and my older siblings used to get it versus them, it's not even a question,
Well, I'm tired now.
My little sister for sure she got away with so much crap. Mm-hmm. So much BS.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just like whatever, man.
Well, you were a guinea pig.
Yeah. Well, they had several before us. So
I mean, you live and you learn, right? You put
True.
Okay. Is there a good reason to have rules?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Rules are generally preventative. Most of the time, simply because the rule exists and you have knowledge of the rule, a lot of people are simply just going to follow it. You're always going to have the people that feed the bear. They're just going to exist. They're going to be people who feed the bear. But most of the people will generally heed that warning, right? And for those who don't, we have TikTok. right? The internet is snitching on them thoroughly. Correct? I mean, that's what it is. Hey, listen. Let's wrap this up. Everybody's tired. Let's go to bed.
Okay. Thinking further and further into.
I was gonna say she's already there. Like,
I tried. I've worked so much this last 7 days. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all good. It's all good. You're gonna have great dreams tonight. Promise. Dreams about like some weird face looking in your window.
just eyes.
I'm gonna find that movie. I'm gonna find this movie.
Yo, if I find it, Frosty, you're watching it.
I'm not.
If I find it,
In two different segments. She love this. This is like a personal nightmare for her.
sometimes that's what we gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I want to thank everybody for hanging out. All of you for joining us. Luckii and Frosty and Coop, you all are awesome and excellent. I enjoyed your topic. I'm positive everybody who's listening also did, and those who are watching also did. I will leave you with this. Just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea. With that, we're out. Toodles and lose.
Bye.